Education virtual conference. With close to 40 speakers and over 20 hours of rich content over 4 nights, we have an all-star lineup of presenters speaking about all sorts of solutions and topics. Oh, and by the way, we have people with us from all over the United States and from 26 different countries. You won't want to miss even 1 minute of the solutions, research, advice, and options they have to offer. Since we are all about creating options, we built this conference in this format so you'd have the flexibility, comfort, and the ability to rewind and replay at your own pace. It's our sincere wish that each of you, parents and educators, come away with 2 or 3 alternate solutions to your students' learning so that you can be the best steward of your child's future. In just a moment, I'll introduce my co-host, Michael Strong, and of course, you'll meet Chris and Lacey through these next 3 days. A few additional housekeeping items. First, a quick disclaimer. This committee does not endorse all of the perspectives and solutions put forward, and we invite you to draw your own conclusions. We're pleased to provide this diverse marketplace of ideas from which you can choose those that align with your values and worldview. Ultimately, that's the value in the liberation of education approach. Second, a little about our format. We want this to be interactive. Our speakers have each prepared to speak for approximately 20 minutes and to answer question and answer. Each session has a Q&A box where you can submit your questions, and a moderator will facilitate the Q&A. Some of the sessions also allow us to bring you on stage so that you can engage directly with the presenter. At the end of each session, please fill out the short survey. Third, take full advantage of the virtual conference. Update your bio, share a bit about yourself, why you're here, and what you hope for your student in our discussion boards. Connect with people who live in your state, visit our exhibitors, and have a one-on-one conversation through our messaging function. All right, can y'all see me?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay.
Your video disappeared for a minute.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Well, I don't know where I left off, but I'll just pick right back up. Third, take full advantage of the virtual conference. Update your bio, share a bit about yourself, why you're here, and what you hope for your student in our discussion boards. Connect with people who live in your state and visit our exhibitors or have a one-on-one conversation through our messaging function. We want to especially thank all of our sponsors this evening, which include EdChoice, Learning Revolution, the Foundation for Economic Education, MECNet, and the Socratic Experience, but especially to our lead sponsor, the Focus Group. For 40 years, the Focus Group has provided capital campaigns, strategic planning, and major donor development counsel to hundreds of organizations around the United States, from local churches and K-12 schools to national campus ministries and international relief organizations. Their mission is to build the kingdom of God by helping faith-based nonprofits raise all the funds needed to carry out their own missions. If you're ready to take your organization's fundraising to the next level, they'd love to connect with you. It's now my distinct pleasure to introduce to you my co-host, Michael Strong. Michael is the founder of the Socratic Experience, a virtual school for children grades 3 through 12. Welcome to the stage, Michael.
Thank you, Kanan. Really appreciate it, and thanks for that informative overview. I'm just going to provide a little bit of commentary on why I'm so passionate about school choice, and then I'll give a quick survey of our speakers for this evening. After spending decades in education, certainly at the secondary level, things are a disaster. I describe adolescence in the United States as a catastrophe. And there's data to back up how bad things are. These are all pre-COVID figures. It's gotten worse since COVID. But 75% of American high school students are unhappy. Imagine any market. There's no market where 75% of the customers are unhappy. It's only because students are locked in to the system that you have such large-scale unhappiness. That's Yale. According to Gallup, 2/3 of American high school students are not engaged in learning. So while many people are focused on curriculum and pedagogy and ratios and everything, 2/3 of the kids are not even tuned in. that's a problem. It shows that they're not finding what they're being offered to be engaging and valuable. 37%, and this is pre-COVID, were seriously depressed or anxious, and 19% were suicidal. I can't imagine a culture, and yet this is our culture, where things are so terrible. And high school is the kind of culmination of trends. Many parents see their children gradually becoming less happy throughout elementary. Some kids are miserable in first grade or kindergarten, but often kids are okay maybe for a couple of years, and then it gets worse and worse and worse. Gallup describes an engagement cliff where a majority of students are engaged in elementary school, but it becomes a minority of students. It goes from about 2/3 engaged in elementary to only 1/3 engaged in secondary and high school. So there's something that's fundamentally not working. And so anytime an expert says parents can't evaluate education correctly, again, what each and every one of you can evaluate is the fact that your child is thriving or not. And Steve Hargadon mentions larger cultural statistics, not a whole lot different. You may be right, Steve. There's certainly high disengagement in the workplace, but I would say there's a connection. If we develop the habit of being disengaged when young, they perhaps accept disengaged unhappiness as an adult. And conversely, if we encourage engagement and happiness while young, perhaps they're more likely to be engaged and happy later on. That's certainly my goal as an educator, is to develop purpose-driven young people who pursue a life they want. But with that as a background, I want to talk about our speakers this evening, a really great evening. We've got, starting off, Carrie McDonald, Senior Education Fellow at FEE, and she's talking about how Education Entrepreneurs is expanding options for learners and teachers. I've known Carrie for a long time. She's deeply in touch with many education entrepreneurs. Part of her job as a journalist, reporter, thought leader is to identify new educational projects. She probably knows about more unique, original education projects than about anybody I know. And so she's going to talk about how that's expanding your range of options. As well as if you're an educator or a parent and you want to be, or business person and you want to be an education entrepreneur, her talk may provide some insight into that. I'm very passionate about the great growth in educational entrepreneurship. I think we're living in a golden age of starting new educational projects. Then we have a series of breakout groups. One is by Matt Bowman, CEO and founder of MyTech High. And MyTech High provides a virtual program that combines sort of a tech 21st century skills sort of program. And his topic is funding your child's ideal education plan from kindergarten to college. His program is available currently, available for free in 11 states. He can work with you to help you attract his program, bringing his program to your state if it's not one of the 11 states that's offered. So he's got, I think, a very interesting virtual program that is working to expand state by state. And so he can talk about how that works. We've got Patrick Gibbons, manager of Step Up for Students on Florida's changing education landscape. Florida and Arizona are probably the two leaders in terms of diversity of options that are available through public funding. And Florida is certainly a leader, maybe of the most different kinds of programs, most different ways for different families to access public funds for school choice options. And Patrick is probably one of the most knowledgeable people in the state on that. And the third breakout group is Mara Lindenberger and Amy Morotz on microschool, on building your own microschool. And they've got a tremendous amount of experience on this. They've come recommended. And microschools are small schools, often started by parents or educators that may only have 10, 15, 20, 40, 60 children. Through the use of technology and various designs, it's become easier for people to start these tiny schools. So I think that will be a fabulous breakout group. We've also got Steve Hargadon, founder of Learning Revolution, talking about Parenting 2.0, parenting for life success. Steve is one of the most knowledgeable people about alternative modes of learning in the US. He's been at it for decades. I always like to brag about his past too, that his father was a leading admissions director at Princeton and Yale. And so Steve's somebody who knows from the inside what the high end looks like. And he also knows, I would say from the inside educator perspective, right? He says, echoing John Taylor Gatto and Ivan Village, I would say what real education is authentically about. And I love the fact that Steve is connecting it to the issue of parenting. And I think a lot of times it's helpful for parents to understand the range or the relationship between different modes of parenting and different modes of educating. Then we've got Matt Boudreau as our second keynote, founder of Acton Academy Placer, the largest and fastest growing Acton Academy in the US. His talk is Raising Dragon Slayers in a Time of Dragons. Matt is very passionate about his approach to microeducation and empowering kids. And so you'll see what it looks like from the inside of such a micro school, which is working. I believe he's K-12 now. I'm pretty certain his school is K-12 now, is working to really empower these young people to feel like they're ready to conquer the world and have the skills needed to conquer the world. We then have an amazing panel on micro schools in the breakout, where the panel includes Tori Gaddis, founder of Be Someone app. Tori has experience in creating micro schools and has an app designed to help young people be heroes of their own lives. Kath Frace, founder of 100 Roads, which helps people create alternative educational communities. She also is working on creating an alternative community for teens who are outside the system. A challenge for many teens who are outside conventional education is social community, and Kath is working on solving that problem. Kathy Broadbent, head of learning at Prinda, one of the most exciting micro school chains in the nation. They've got, I believe, tens of thousands of students and perhaps hundreds of micro schools, and they help parents, again, sometimes set up a micro school in your home, and a full kind of turnkey program for doing so. We'll also have the breakout on Matt Boudreau. So if you want to hear more from him, there will be a breakout. Then there will also be a breakout from Melody Bolduc, Keys Educational Resource Center, on handy hints and help for homeschooling for people who are more interested in the homeschooling rather than the microschooling experience. We have Mitchell Earl, COO of Praxis, on life after high school. Praxis is an amazing kind of apprenticeship program for, I would say, startup technology jobs. So if your child wants to go directly into software development or product management or UI, UX, or some 21st century career without going to college, Praxis is an amazing way to do that. Within 1 year, they're making good money. I think it used to be average salary of $60K a year after 1 year. Then we've got a keynote. Our third keynote is Miles Mendoza, partner of Oak Rose Group, on industry-driven education. Miles has described himself as kind of a founding Democrat for school choice. He's a big bridge builder. He created a program in Illinois where he combined the trades unions and the Catholic schools to create a pathway for corporations to create customized training programs so that students or young people, 20-something even, could get a free state-funded education to obtain a lucrative career. So with that, I am running out of time. I hope you find our keynotes and our breakout sessions valuable. Please keep engaged in the chat, ask questions. All of our speakers want to be connected to you. So without further ado, I will let us switch to Carrie McDonald. So see you over in Carrie McDonald's keynote room. Thanks, everybody.